We're equally excited for the closing session of the day, which is going to be a little bit more of an intimate conversation. We typically like to close our summits with fireside chats. And excited to have Brett Leary handling the interview duties here. Brett played an integral role in putting the summit together, was one of the members of the advisory committee that I mentioned earlier, and is the VP and Group Director of Mobile at Digitas. We originally were slated to have Ryan Bonificino from Alex and Ani today. Unfortunately, he missed a flight in California last night. But Chad Westleigh, his colleague, was good enough to pinch hit for us and is going to speak about some of the interesting and innovative things that Alex and Ani is doing with mobile technologies, including iBeacon technology. I don't want to cannibalize that conversation at all, and I will turn it over to Brett, and then we will wrap up after that. So, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Yeah, great. How many red-eye flights are out of California at that hour, right? We'll have to bust the shops when you're back there. Thanks, everybody, for staying. Gold stars for everyone. I know it's late in the day. We'll compress or expand depending on how the conversation goes. But just a little bit about my background. Over at Digitas, we're a big digital agency or integrated agency, I guess we call ourselves now, and work with brands like Amex and Goodyear Tire, and we do a little work with Victoria's Secret on the media side. So we cut across a lot of different categories. I also oversee a mobile shopping showcase, and it's experiential lab, much like what David Chang did with you here, and you get to touch and feel it, right? Because it's very different interacting with that stuff than just hearing theory. And that's why I'm excited to have Chad, because this guy's doing it. And there's a big difference between what people say and what people do in our space, especially when we start talking about nuts and bolts and technology and then getting it in front of consumers. Sometimes things don't work out, right? And so we're going to kind of take a holistic view on a lot of different subjects, right? Maybe save your questions to the end, just kind of press for time, but we'll try to touch on a lot of different things, everything from how do you structure your company to make mobile, right, first type of thoughts, to the iBeacon stuff, or the beacon stuff that they've been implementing, right, with their stores. So Alex and Ani, founded in 2004. You've got 40 some odd stores now, $230 million in revs, starting from $4 million a couple of years ago. Inc. 500 company for a couple of years. Like, you're kind of clicking on all cylinders here. I'm kind of curious. First, why don't you introduce yourself in terms of your role, but then how is mobile playing a part in this success?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Chad Westleigh, and I'm the Senior Manager of Digital Strategy and Analytics at Alex and Ani. So I work directly underneath Ryan, and he wished he could be here. And when I got the 3 a.m. call, he was very apologetic. So, but he loves Boston and everything that's going on up here as far as technology goes. So my role at Alex and Ani is within digital strategy to kind of sit on both sides of what we call e-commerce and content, and the interrelation between the two. So everything from high-end strategy to the end being analysis, interpretation, and hopefully optimization, and everything in between. So I have the ability to work with the social media team as well as our merchandising team and our product management team, and so on and so forth, and really dig into everything we have going on throughout the duration of those campaigns, initiatives, and we're just getting started. So.
AKA you're doing all the work. Right.
But it's all fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, good,
so
good.
Those 2 a.m. nights are well worth it.
So can you kind of just set the stage before we dig into the different mobile initiatives that you're doing, how you kind of view mobile, right, in this holistic digital right, machine that you're moving for them?
Yeah, I'm not sure how everyone is about the Alex and Ani brand, but primarily we sell, bangle jewelry. Each bangle has usually a symbol charm on it. Each charm has 3 meaning words and a backstory, so we're a very emotionally driven company as far as our product base goes. We call ourselves a lifestyle brand, even though we consider ourselves more of a way of life brand. Positivity we're all about. But in general, it's nice. Mobile plays a huge role. Our main customer demographic is obviously that 15 to 30-year-old female. And a lot of those are millennials. Those are digital natives. So they're interacting with their everyday lives through their mobile device. Us trying to get them to leave that would be very difficult, if not impossible. So we're embracing mobile as much as we can.
Were you seeing some specific mobile behaviors that led to decisions as to why you've done things? I mean, you can kind of list out, you've got the responsive site, and you could talk about app and things like that, but were you seeing specific things that help you make decisions as to move forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's early indicators like people see in general. There's been a great growth, exponential growth in mobile access to internet in general, and we saw that as well. So there's some of those early indicators from an industry standpoint in general. But again, understanding our demographic and understanding that that's where they were spending their time, we understood that we needed to look at a lot of those key metrics. The fact that our traffic right now is about 50% between desktop and mobile, and our revenue is about 25% mobile, and that's grown exponentially over the last few years. We've only had e-commerce for the last 3 years, give or take. So it's been hyper growth, but paying attention to those signals has been very important and is giving us a lot of indication that we should be spending more time on mobile, investing more.
Yeah, interesting. When we kind of caught up in the hallway a little bit, we talked a little bit about other touch points that have been mobilized, if you will, email being one. What's going on there?
Yeah, so we do have a responsive website now, and it's fairly standard. The breakpoints of which you see that change, the content change, is obviously desktop, tablet, and then mobile. We'll start to get more granular here shortly once we do some more analysis, and like you said, looking at a lot of these metrics, understanding what types of phones are accessing our site, what types of browser, and so on and so forth, and adjusting appropriately. But social, that's something that we're highly dedicated to. We have a world-class social team of about 8 to 10 folks that work full-time on brand engagement and interacting with our customers through all the social channels. Social is inherently mobile today, so I think that naturally lends itself, again, to us investing in mobile.
Yeah. I know it's interesting. ComScore is one of the few measurement companies that kind of breaks out what are the mobile activities that people do in a retail environment. And consistently, in the top 3 spaces is people taking pictures of products, right? And you've got a very visual brand, right? The product, obviously, you can touch and feel it. Are you leveraging that type of behavior, people taking pictures? Like, what are you doing with that?
Yeah, like we were talking out in the hall, some retailers are very concerned as far as when people walk into their brick and mortar and have a phone. There's a fear of showrooming, which I think is a natural concern for retailers. We try and embrace it. Due to the fact that our price point is steady across all of our channels, we don't have that concern as much. But embracing the fact that people are taking photos when they're in store. They're asking for recommendations and insight from their friends through their social channels when they're thinking about a product they want to buy. We want to leverage that information. We utilize some of that crowdsource imagery on our website and throughout some of our campaigns and everything like that. And we talked about one of our partners that has a cool widget on our website where on any product detail page you can see photos that have been sourced from Instagram of people with that product on their wrist. We see about a 15 to 30% uplift in sales on pages that have that widget, that old pig widget in there. So again, we're trying to embrace and leverage what's already happening versus trying to do something such as fight it or stop it.
Just want to stay on the customer, kind of understanding the customer and the insights a little bit before we jump to how you're structured. But at the beginning of the onset, remember the Forrester gentleman was talking about customer journey mapping, or they called it moment mapping or something like that. But right, the idea that you guys have an understanding of the path to purchase and you're integrating mobile to help remove friction from that process or build a brand. Can you talk a little bit about how you're doing that, or if you're doing that's helped you guys make smart decisions about when to do stuff and when not to? And
yep. So I hear a little bit of attribution in that question. I think that's something that everyone's trying to figure out, especially when it comes to mobile. There's some technology gaps there still, obviously, but we see some indications in the analysis that we have, as well as some educated assumptions that throughout whatever those touch points are to a customer purchasing something, we believe heavily that mobile plays a strong role in a lot of those touch points. Most of the time, it's probably going to be from a research or discovery or insight standpoint. We're still seeing a higher abandonment when it comes to mobile checkout, and I think that people are still learning to become more comfortable purchasing online, as well as thinking about our demographic, being that younger generation. They may not have the ability to pay for something online themselves yet. They may need to go to their parents or go to a desktop, whatever it may be. But again, we know mobile plays a huge role, and we're making some educated assumptions and investing upon that, and have some great indicators right now. But also stay abreast of what's happening across the industry as a whole, and understanding where mobile is going, and trying to stay in pace with that in some form or fashion.
Yeah. One of the great things about mobile is certainly the immediacy, right? I can buy something, right? Anywhere commerce, and you guys certainly have that with this multi-channel with the brick and mortar and certainly that. Are you seeing anything from consumer behavior? As I understand, a large part of your audience is gift givers, right? Where's Max from Fixie? I told you I was going to call you out, right? You've gone in, right? You're probably not the ideal demographic, but you are in the sense that you're buying stuff, right, for your girlfriend or whomever, right? Are you seeing, I don't know, Mother's Day, et cetera, right, last-minute type of purchases that would show that people are picking up and using your channels for this last-minute type of stuff?
Yeah, thank you for the business, first of all. Much appreciated. And I'm sure your significant other appreciates it as well. But, yeah, I mean, it's very important to us in understanding that gift givers are a huge percentage of our customer base. How can we help them make that decision or find a product that they know that the recipient of their gift is going to love? Which goes back to a lot of data that we have on our customers. If someone registers on our site or logs in on our site and has a wish list, or we call it a risk list, we want the ability for the gift giver to be able to have access to that and see what products that person already has, what products they want. That way, it's going to be a gift that they'll surely enjoy.
Yeah, interesting. So you've got a lot going on, and well, I should ask. There's no mobile app yet, correct? No native. Can you talk a little bit about why that is, right? That's certainly a topic that right, the retailer group here, you guys have said no. A lot of the data would suggest that for many retailers, right, mobile web really is the dominant force in terms of where they get their traffic from, et cetera.
Yeah. So Alex and Ani as a brand, we have some cornerstones. Eco-conscious, all of our products come from recycled means. So we're about utilization. Two, being charitable and philanthropic. We have a division or a company called Charity by Design that partners with charities across the world, and percentage of all proceeds from that product being sold goes back to that charity. And then lastly is made in America. Everything from sourcing the product, the raw product, to manufacturing to shipping out happens right down the street in Rhode Island. So with those cornerstones in mind, we've been trying to figure out in a very strategic manner how we want to approach a native application. We don't want it to be just another platform in which someone can purchase a product. If that's the case, we already have some great options out there for people to purchase from. But how can we make it something more than that? How can we engage with our customers? We know once we get a customer, we probably will have them for life. Even though we're a young company, we see high repeat purchase rates, and we see people who, once they start to engage with our company, they continue to, and that engagement actually grows. So how can we make this native application truly content-centric, emotion-driving, a place where people can discover more about our products and who we are as a brand, but also how we relate to them, things that are important to them. Mm-hmm. So it's a big bill, and that's why we've kind of been slow to market as far as having an app out, and hopefully we'll have our first iteration out and released for Q4 of this year. That's the hope and the goal. But there's a lot to take into consideration, and a lot of stakeholders who want to be involved and have a say, even up to Carolyn, our creator and founder. She wants to be involved, which is fantastic. It's always nice when you have the support of C-suite. So we have been slow to market, but it's, again, we want to make sure that we're not putting money into something that we're going to have to just iterate quickly afterwards because we didn't hit on the mark the first time.
Sure. You're setting me up easy here with the segue in terms of, right, often we don't talk about how companies need to organize themselves, right, not only with your digital team, but to getting that executive management suite to buy into this mobile thing, right? Granted, your company's 2004, right? We've had iPhones and all sorts of widgets out for a long, long time. Talk a little bit about how you're structured to make things work, and how are you convincing management to throw that investment, because that's where not only the eyeballs are, but you're getting conversion and things like that.
Sure, yeah. First it helps when you have a great thought leader in the area like Ryan, and he comes from the finance world and made this cool transition over to retail now, but he understands it very, very well. And he takes a kind of a VC mindset and understanding the importance of technology, and does due diligence. So when we go to the C-suite or the executives and we're talking about an initiative that involves mobile, it's not as difficult when you have someone who truly understands it. But two, a company that's has innovation kind of as part of its DNA, they're very open to hearing those discussions. We have Innovation Lab, which is an actual department, Alex and Ani, and their jobs will be looking 2 to 5 years out on what's going to be happening and how can we leverage emerging technology, and they work in parallel with digital strategy. But the conversation is becoming easier with the C-suite, especially when most of them have one hand and one eye on their mobile device while you're talking to them about mobile. But we have full support, and they understand that again, we need to embrace this because it's a shift in the way we live our lives and how we interact on a daily basis. So that we have some great support.
Yeah. Are there particular metrics, business metrics or performance metrics that executive team or you guys are really focused on? Look, they're going to need to see X, Y, and Z for us to kind of get that investment we need, or to organize our team, or to get that new app out before we do that. Or can you share some of those that you focus on?
So like going back to why we don't have a native app at this exact moment, a recent e-consultancy report that came out, and a lot of brands and retailers that had an application said their largest issue or concern was once it was built, they hadn't really thought through the business requirements or what was going to be their KPIs before creating that app. Therefore, they really didn't have any benchmarks to measure that initiative, that mobile initiative by. We take that very seriously. So starting, obviously, the lowest level being we want to make money through this mobile initiative. But again, the soft metrics, if you will, engagement, repeat visits, the amount of time they engage with us while they're on mobile. We take all those metrics into account. And again, the C-suite wants to see that. Sometimes I think that they are focused on the bottom line metrics at a lot of organizations. But again, Carolyn, she cares so much about the customer that it's great that we're making money, but what do the customer think about us? How are they engaging with us? How are they spending time with us?
Yeah.
So we look at both, again, those hard metrics and big metrics, as well as those micro metrics and micro conversion events that occur.
Yeah. Well, you talked about the softer metrics. So there was a panel earlier today about building brands, right, and brand advertising, and you guys got a lifestyle brand here, and my understanding, and I apologize, I haven't been in the store to buy a bangle yet from, I think you call them bartenders, right? Bangle
Correct.
bartenders,
Yes.
if you guys go in. There's a story behind the product, and that's part of your brand is, right, espousing this stuff and sharing it, whether it's social, et cetera. Do you think that mobile's helping to build that lifestyle brand? Are you doing mobile advertising in a branding capacity versus getting somebody to buy something instantly?
Yeah. So we're not doing. We do both. We do brand building and direct response advertising, and we've invested heavily in mobile advertising over the last year or so. And I think mobile advertising, a lot of platforms are really starting to figure it out. Facebook and Twitter and so on and so forth, which we both advertise on those social platforms. But we've seen the largest return in comparison to how young it is as an advertising channel mobile. So we see a lot of potential there, and we're going to continue to invest. As we continue to move away from last touch, and it gives us a little better understanding of attribution and what's working better for us. I'm sure there'll be some fine tweaking. But mobile advertising is great for our brand, again, because that's where people are living, is a lot on their mobile. So that may be the first time they interact with our brand before is going to be on mobile.
Yeah.
So embracing that and making sure that it's optimized to mobile for that first view is crucial, because I'm sure you're aware you may only have that first time to catch their attention.
Yeah.
And on mobile, when they're scrolling through their feed and they're seeing 100 pieces of content within 12 seconds, how do you stand out? So it goes back to content and creative and making sure that while we have a line of consistency across all of our channels, it is unique and formatted and optimized to however the consumer is viewing us, whether it be on their mobile device or tablet or desktop in store.
Yeah. You've touched on the attribution riddle, if you will, especially in mobile for inherent technical problems and what have you. Maybe you could share with us how you're approaching that in the context of you're doing a lot, right? Whether you're testing and learning in various mobile email, you've got the beacons, we'll talk about mobile web, you've got an app coming up. Is there something that's standing out and really working really well, or are you finding a way to measure it effectively, like people are hopping across these different channels? Or?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways that we can see, again, when we see someone who engages with us heavily through social and they log in on our website using their email, we can manually connect some of those dots right now, and that's a lot of what it is at the moment. It's a lot of manually connecting those dots. I think as we get better on integrating and consolidating where a lot of this data is coming to, so we have a better holistic view, we'll have an understanding of where people are jumping across our different touch points. At the moment, again, we know mobile plays a huge role. We just want to be able to truly allocate the credit that mobile deserves.
Are you guys doing any retargeting and
Yeah, for sure.
things like that, using the mobile touch points, whether they came in versus another touch point or a different channel? And
We are, yeah. So that's fairly new, and we've been doing, lucky enough to be involved in some beta tests with some different partners and things like that. Again, I think advertising and ad tech is still figuring out mobile somewhat. That they're willing and they need people to be able to test those new initiatives. So we've been pretty lucky in that regard. Again, once someone makes that first purchase, whether it be for themselves or gifting, we're pretty confident that we're going to have them for quite a while. So continually retargeting and trying to change up the creative that's shown through retargeting and becoming more personalized, which I think all retailers are trying to do, try to get to that one-to-one personalization when it comes to marketing, which we're working on. We'll continue to see conversion rise based on that.
That's good. Let's move our way into the store, or just outside the store. Let's talk a little bit about your views on location. And we've talked a lot about location data today. You guys getting comfortable with it? How are you using it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great data, from location. Everything to down within the store. So we have, at Alex Nani, we have kind of a commitment to Main Street. You won't find us in a strip mall or a mall or anything like that. You'll find us on Main Street in a lot of communities. And we truly believe in that. Carolyn started her first store in Newport and had it for a long time, that one store, and now we're up to 40. But still keeping that in mind, that Main Street feel. At all of our stores, the layout is different because of that. We're usually moving into a pre-existing building. Understanding foot traffic throughout our locations help us with in-store merchandising, finding out pain points in the customer traffic, foot traffic flow throughout a store. Allows us to do some cool optimization in a real physical space. Then we go on to also, I'm sure we'll touch on it more, about iBeacon, which we have in all of our stores. All the way up to, for instance, if we know we have marketing in a certain market, we see sometimes the correlation in effect that happens online when we do see an increase in traffic or conversion online in a certain market. Which, the other side of that coin, which is what excites me, is when we know we don't have any marketing going on in that market, but we see an anomaly. Mm-hmm. Austin, Texas, for the last 3 weeks has had an influx in traffic to our site. What's causing that? Perhaps we should then go talk to TransOp and say, hey, we're seeing a consistent rise in traffic to the site from Austin, Texas. Maybe we should go do a site selection trip down there to see what's going on, to see how the community looks, see if it'd be a good fit for our brand to have a store there. So everything down to the specific location itself, to looking out to where we might want to expand to. Location data is all great for that. While it's just a sliver of the stack of data, it's an important sliver. Yeah,
we talked a lot about context today, and certainly location being one of those elements to learning more about your customers. It's interesting about the Wi-Fi analytics, right? You're hinting at, or the storefront analytics companies like Euclid, and I think you guys use another vendor. You don't need to name it if you don't want, but that are picking up on MAC addresses as we move in and out. We don't know who you are, but we get a sense of how you flow through the store. You're using that to help you do what?
Yep. So at our flagship store at Chapel View in Cranston, we're beta testing right now an incentivized Wi-Fi connection. So basically, if you want free Wi-Fi while you're in our store or in the area, all you have to do is basically give your email address. Once they opt in through that means, we then can connect that to our ESP and our CRM. Which then allows us to, we have them in that database now, we can start marketing to them once they opt in. So that from just a lead acquisition standpoint, it's a really great and new way for us to try and go about it. The other nice part is, because we're eco-conscious, we have a 96% capture rate of email at point of sale. Wow. And I think people sometimes feel kind of guilty if they say no when we ask if we can email a receipt to them. But at the same time, our transactionals occur through our ESP versus our point of sale. So once they're in there and they have the ability to opt into our marketing side, our emails, we have them, and then we can communicate with them in a very personal manner. So that's one way we're utilizing kind of in-store technology, if you will, in this wireless access.
That's great. I'm chuckling a little bit. Email's not something you talk about at these mobile conferences, but I'm telling you, that's going to be the killer app, right? It's got scale, everybody's using it, it's got great conversion rates, so low-hanging fruit, people, fix that email, right? You can do it responsive, et cetera. That's my plug for the day. But let's talk about beacons now, because it's some people will argue it's hyped. It's certainly an exciting technology. You are one of the few. I think Apple was the first to maybe put it in all their stores. Now you've got it in all 40. Others are starting to follow. How'd you get there? Did you test and pilot it first?
Yeah, so we've been testing for over a year now with iBeacon, low energy Bluetooth, if we don't want to brand it particularly, but for over a year now at a few stores, and then we rolled it out to every single one of our 40 locations across the United States. And it's a great way to interact with your customers when they're in a physical area. We belong, and the company that we partnered with is called Swirl, and they're local to the Boston area. But they have an app, kind of like a marketplace app, if you will, with a lot of great brands who have partnered to be part of this marketplace app. But for instance, if you're walking down the street in Soho in New York, and you're within proximity, within 40 feet of our store down there, and you have the Swirl app, you'll get a push notification that may say, stop in Alex and Ani today, get $5 off bangle of your choice. Trying to incentivize, give a reason for people to come into our store. One, maybe they already know our brand and it's just a great deal for them, and they'll stop in. Two, perhaps if they never met our brand before and they're in Soho for the first time, and it can be overwhelming with the amount of stores they have down there. So how do we rise above the noise?
Yeah.
And low energy Bluetooth is a great way to do that. Once they're in store, again, it can give us some cool data on what people are doing when they're in store, but it can also help dictate what they do in store. So these low energy Bluetooth beacons can work down to I think 24-inch proximity. So if someone walks towards a very particular case of ours, like I mentioned, our Charity by Design products, if they get within 2 feet, maybe they have a pop-up notification that says, did you know Charity by Design products are partnering with charities across the world, and 20% of all proceeds go back to that partnering charity? To me, that's a great reason to buy a product in general, but they may not have known that otherwise. That may be the catalyst for their first purchase or their next purchase. So we have the ability to measure the behavior and then do some cool testing as far as how we can dictate what they do in store through low energy Bluetooth.
I think one of the trade magazines mentioned you had a 75% engagement rate. How is that defined in your pilot?
Yeah, so I think they're taking into account those who are actually, opening a push notification, and then actually interacting with the app once they're in store, and continuing to interact with the push notifications throughout their duration of being in the store or in the vicinity of the store.
Yeah.
But again, I think those who already have the Swirl app understand how it works and see a benefit out of it, especially if the push marketing you're doing is incentivized.
Yeah.
So again, we don't want to give away the product, but at the same time, it's a great lead acquisition tool. It's a great engagement tool. And on top of that, our stores get extremely busy during peak season. I don't know if any of you guys have been to the Newberry Street around holiday time. It can get nuts. How do we still give people a cool experience, a valid experience to discover our product if they can't be helped by one of our bartenders at that exact moment? Last thing we want is someone to walk into a store, get frustrated because they're not being helped or they don't have any point of information, and to walk back out. We may lose them forever. This is a cool self-discovery tool, if you will, and maybe enough for them to stay in store while they're not being actually helped by a bartender.
Yeah. Well, we also chatted a little bit. What's interesting about Bluetooth is that is everybody going to carry around a branded app for every retailer they go? But in this utopia that every retailer has beacons, how can we piggyback on existing beacon network? You've got a little bit of a vision as to how you might do that, right? As a reseller through the various department stores, or right?
Yeah.
How might that work?
So B2B is our largest portion of overall revenue. We have about 1,500 B2B partners across the world. And some of our larger partners, and we're in Bloomingdale, Nordstrom, Belk down south, Reed's, Lord & Taylor, and so on and so forth. A lot of them are willing to work with us and test some new things with us. It's low barrier, and it's the investment isn't high on their part, and we're already utilizing this technology. So in the near future here, we have some cool opportunities to be testing out this technology in a B2B relationship. Again, if you walk into, let's say, a Nordstrom that has 200,000 products you can look at, as a brand that's inside that store, again, how do you rise above the noise? And we think that low energy Bluetooth may be a way to achieve that and stand out in an area like that where there's a lot of competition between products.
Sure. You mentioned B2B. Your company, I've read, has implemented a mobile POS solution. I don't know if you use iPod Touches, with some sort of mechanism to enable a credit card swipe. Initially shot through the roof, right? Helping with conversions, right? There was some stat there, but
Yeah.
But again, another way that your company is thinking about using mobile to improve operations in this case and customer experience as well.
Yeah, it was significant, the increase in conversion we saw in store when we made it more convenient to simply check out. And that's really what it was. It was simply, you don't have to go to the cash wrap anymore to get your product and get out of the store, which, going back to our peak season, there would be some crazy lines that would be, occurring in some of our stores are very small from a square footage standpoint. So mobile POS made it more convenient for our consumers and also for our bartenders to be able to assist anyone within the store where they're at. So convenience, we didn't think it would have that huge an impact, but it really has. And we're seeing great results from it, and we've had it now for about a year, and we're continuing to iterate slightly. But it's working great for us.
Oh, good. Can we assume mobile payments is something that's being deliberated?
Yeah. So we're very excited at the notion of mobile payments, and I think it's going to be a crawl, walk, run kind of approach, and maybe starting out with something like Passbook or a parallel equivalent. We see a lot of potential in the area. Again, waiting for mobile payments to kind of hit a critical mass point, if you will, and it to be a little bit more accepted generally. We're waiting for that to happen as well, but we're ready. And when the time comes, hopefully, we'll have it as part of our native application. But again, we want to make it convenient and seamless for people to be able to engage with our brand and also make a purchase.
Sure. Because the mobile in the physical world really have converged, right? That collision, and I think Kevin and others from the retail side have talked about driving foot traffic, et cetera. The importance of executing just marketing 101, right? Whether you've got proper call to actions in store next to, I don't know if you're doing QR codes or staff training, right? Things that make mobile work for people, whether making them aware of the new Alex and Ani app or how to pay for something. Yep. You talk about how you guys approach this, or what are you doing, right, with your staff, et cetera, to make that happen?
We're big about education at Alex and Ani. As part of our organization, we actually have a professional development institute called Alex and Ani University that's ran by Dr. Dennis Rebello, and he's a professional executive coach, and he's been doing this for a long time. So when a new bartender starts at a retail location, they go through what's called Rethinking Retail, which encompasses everything from helping a customer discover what product may mean the most to them when they come into a store versus showing them what's either the most expensive or what's newest, helping them discover themselves, to understanding the consumer today, which most of them will be walking in with a mobile device, and embracing that, and how can you leverage that. So education is a huge part, I think, to start. The other great part is a lot of our bartenders, I think just naturally based on what our brand, are a younger generation, even though we do have employees who span the age demographic. They understand it, and they are digital natives. So it's not it's not new to them. They know how to embrace it. But again, I think past that, we try to have a line of uniformity and consistency across all channels. So utilizing things like Olapick on our site, which really occurs when someone purchases it at the physical location or is gifted it as a gift from someone. It starts with education, and then it also goes to, I think, with consistency, and working together with your traditional marketing group and your design group, transops, merchandising, not being siloed. And that's something that we preach every day at Alex and Ani, is you can't live in a silo because you need to know what's going on in all these different areas.
Sure.
If we're to achieve omni-channel, and not to throw out big buzzwords, that needs to occur.
Yeah. We're getting a little close on our time here, but what's on the horizon for mobile at Alex and Ani? I mean, what's getting you excited? We talked a little bit in the hallway about, for example, wearables.
Yeah.
Right? They've certainly got the wrist already. They've got the fashion. The big knock on wearables is that it's not fashion friendly, right? This big black clunky thing I have on my wrist may not work for everybody. What do you think? Is this an avenue you can go in?
Yeah, we're really excited at the notion of wearables as well, because they already have half the equation, as you mentioned. While I don't think we would ever jump into the technology area, just because I think it's a completely different skill set, obviously, in organizational structure, I think there's potential for us to find, a partnering technology brand, whether it be a Fitbit or whatever else is out there. how can we partner with them to create a piece of jewelry that also has some kind of function to it. I think there's some brands out there that are already doing that, or are at the beginning process of doing that. But we see wearables as another shift in technology, and people enjoy having a quantified life on a daily basis when you know how many steps you've taken or how much sleep you're getting, what your hydration level is. It's information that informs us, and it also blends very well with our brand of being a positive brand and a positive lifestyle brand. Anything that can help someone be better themselves, we're all about, and we see wearables as a potential means of doing that.
That's great. That's great. We've got a couple of questions, a few minutes. Anybody have a couple of questions? Yep, gentleman here.
Sure. I have 3 younger sisters, so I know way more about Alex and Annie than I'm willing to admit to my mates. And I know that they're crazy about it. They constantly are purchasing more of them. How does, your digital strategy lend itself to that kind of brand loyalty that Alex and Annie was doing?
Yeah, it really started with the ethos that Carolyn, our founder, wanted to have. And starting with her first store, she knew all of her customers by first name, last name, and if it was their wife's birthday or it was an anniversary, that's never stopped. That customer-centric, belief is really important to us, and that's why we have such a dedicated social media team that interacts with every piece of content that comes in that mentions Alex and Ani, whether it be direct or not. We have a no tweet goes unanswered policy. They work 364 days a year. So I give a lot of credit to our social media team. They're the ones that are interacting on a daily basis with your 3 little sisters, and content, I think that's going to be a huge play for everyone in 2014. We see those who interact with us and absorb our content are our best and most frequent customers. So why wouldn't we continue to offer that up and create that genuine connection with our customers? It only benefits us in the end. So that's part of it, and I really attribute a large part of that success to social media.
Great. Another question? No? All set?
Yes, I'm glad. Thank you for mentioning. Yeah. Without going into too much detail, we've been doing some soft launches. So we currently have candles out right now, scented candles that are all organic soy based, and still lend themselves to our cornerstone of our brand. But you will see a men's line out here shortly enough. We have small leather goods coming out in the fall, everything from handbags to iPhone cases, as well as apparel. I'm sure we'll see soon enough. Nice part is we're all in one big building, so I can walk by design and development and see what they have working on, and it's exciting. We do have a lot of things coming out, but again, trying to do it intelligently. Yeah. You definitely have to talk to HR, but I mean, we've gone from 20 people to over 1,000 in the last 4 years. So, and we want to be to 80 stores by the end of this year. So we have a lot of work to do and need a lot of help. So please, I would mention anyone reach out to HR at Alex and Ani.
Great. So. Well, we will take you over, Ryan, any day. Thank you. How about a big hand for Chad for pitching in?